case that I want to talk about for this week, which it actually doesn't come up too much, but and it may be because people don't even realize, unfortunately some attorneys don't even realize the ramifications of discharging, debts, tax debts in bankruptcy, and how you really need to pay attention to the deadlines, when you filed the taxes before. So we had a person come in, and a lot of these cases, and we end up meeting with them, are pro se cases. So they thought they could do it themselves. They file, and then they realize, that they've done something wrong, and what can they do? So we had someone come in. They had filed a pro se Chapter 7, and it was a mess. They hadn't filed all their correct documents. They were missing things, and that's fine. We can fix it. It's not a big deal. We do several kinds of cases like this a month. But when I was doing the review with them, they had a lot of tax debt. And when I say a lot of tax debt, I'm talking like over $100,000 in tax debt, which is huge. At least that's huge for me. I would have a heart attack if I got a tax bill for $100,000. But anyway, they had read that if their taxes were, if it would due over 3 years ago, then they could discharge them and whatnot. And yes, that's true. But the thing they didn't pay attention to was looking at this thing in terms of when they actually filed their taxes. So they were using the normal April 15th date, right? In terms of that's when this tax return had been due, but they filed an extension. And they didn't actually file their case until October, until October. So they literally, if their Chapter 7 case had been discharged, they would have messed themselves up, so to speak, in terms of getting rid of $100,000 by a few months. So when we realized what they had done, we sat down, looked at everything. Good news is they didn't have any assets, any reason why a trustee would object to this. But our game plan was, we're like, okay, well, let's just dismiss the case. And that's what we did. And so we filed a motion because, again, when you're in a Chapter 7 case, you do not have an absolute right to dismiss your case. You do in Chapter 13, but you do not in Chapter 7. So what we did in this case is we filed a voluntary motion to dismiss the case, and the judge was fine. They let us dismiss it. So we dismissed it, and then we waited until this person was eligible. So we checked the timing of when these taxes would be dischargeable under the bankruptcy code. So we did that, we waited, and then once the person was eligible, we refiled the case. And we were able to get them a discharge, get rid of all those taxes, and it was a win-win. It was a win-win situation. But it was, the client was actually a little shaken up, and they realized like how just those few months would have changed everything, because the tax debt was what was killing them. It was just hanging around. So, make sure, if you're thinking about bankruptcy and you've got some issues like that, you've got some, not just, I owe some credit cards and some medical bills and some collections, but if you've got, tax debt, if you've done some transfers of property in the past, it could be 10 years in the past, you really need an attorney to sit and go through things and make sure you're understanding all of the, the pitfalls that could happen if you file at the wrong time. Sometimes there are timing issues. I meet with folks all the time, and I look at everything. I'm like, you can't file this if you want this. If you want this result, you're going to need to wait a year, or you need to wait 2 years, and that's just the way it is. So make sure, like I said, in this case, we were so happy. Our client was happy because we were able to fix it. But this just goes to show you, there's just so many variables when we're dealing with the bankruptcy case. Bankruptcy is not a one-size-fits-all, and every case is different. So make sure you're meeting with an attorney that knows these issues, that can go through them with you, they can explain them to you, so you can make the right choice for you. If you have any questions about bankruptcy here in Georgia, I'm always happy to answer questions. My information is actually in the links below, and I have a link in the description about discharging taxes in bankruptcy, since that was really the case issue at heart today. But any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.